Hello again. It's your host, Nathan Nguyen. Yes, this is a weird one because usually we don't record 2 episodes in one day. We have our weekly Tuesdays and our Thursday episodes, and that's pretty much it, along with Coach's Corner, which you have guys seen on our YouTube channel. That's specifically on YouTube for you guys. But I made a call to a good buddy of mine. I love this guy to death. He's been my guy since elementary school. This man knows a lot about football, and honestly, I had to get him on for his show just to talk ball with him, just for fun. Honestly, this episode has nothing to do with like serious NFL talk. It's just a fun time that I want you guys to experience with us as well. He's a big Syracuse Orange fan, as annoying as that is. He's a he's a decent gamer when it comes to the NCAA Football 25, but more importantly, he is one of my best friends out there in the world, and he knows a lot about ball. He's part of the reason why I love the game is because he's always been there for me, has always been willing to run routes with me and throw me the football, and I'm grateful for him a lot. So without further ado, you can follow this man on TikTok at KCY_. Like I said, big Syracuse fan, a Raiders fan as well. Also an Eagles fan, which just still doesn't make sense to me, but hey, we still love him for it. Ladies and gentlemen, he's back for the first time since we had this show as the Casey Nate Show. Casey White. Casey.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. That was an awesome introduction, man. You've always been one of my best friends, bro. I'm just so happy to be back, and I'm ready to get started, man. Let's talk some football.
Me too, man. Let's have some fun, man, for sure. All right. Look, the color of this background is orange, and it's orange for a reason because your Syracuse Orange, they are playing as well as we've ever seen them play. Let's be honest. One of the main reasons is your head coach. He has done an outstanding job, and he's paired up with an outstanding quarterback in Kyle McCord, who transferred from Ohio State to Syracuse. Out of all the schools he could have transferred to, he could have stayed as a Buckeye. He decided to come to Syracuse, and he has found himself here in New York. So I gotta know, Case, how have the Syracuse Orange been so successful this year? And honestly, let's be honest, a playoff spot in the college football playoff isn't really out of reach as many of us think it is.
Yeah, that's true. So I was looking into it. Since 2022, Syracuse has gone 15-3 through the first 6 games of the season. In every game past the 6-game mark since 2021, the Orange have struggled, going only 3-11. So it seems to be a really, common occurrence that we'll always start off strong, but right as soon as like the game 6, game 7 of the season, like we really struggle. And that's honestly because of 3 crucial reasons. Number one is a highly competitive ACC schedule. We got Cal and Stanford joining. Unfortunately, we lost to Stanford, and I feel like Cal should be a decent team to beat. I feel like we've always, done well against them. No, I just say that because we used to play each other back in NCAA 2014, which, by the way, we still have to play in NCAA 25.
Yeah, right.
But with that being said, a highly competitive ACC schedule, inconsistency at QB, and then, of course, a plethora of injuries every single year. It's honestly unavoidable at this point. It's just bound to happen. Just for whatever reason, we always seem to have injuries to super crucial players. We had Marlo Wax go down early in the season. We had Dion Wilson, defensive line. He's out for the year. And Marcellus Barnes Jr., a true freshman, actually, a cornerback. He's showing a lot of promise. But those are just, 3 starters, 3 big names for the Orange defense that, are not playing right now. And I think that we have to find a way to account for them. And luckily, Marcellus Barnes Jr. and Marlo Wax are coming back, I believe, next week at the latest. So we might see them at Pitt, but most likely not, honestly, which is kind of bad news for us because Pitt is, as we know, they're ranked. They're number 19 in the country. We have to face them after an away game. And looking at Syracuse's history with bye weeks, we always, for whatever reason, do terrible coming out of a bye week. I remember in 2018 when we played Clemson and lost at Clemson, it was the most devastating loss ever. I think we had a bye week, and then the week after we played North Carolina, and we ended up losing that game as well. And sorry, we actually played Pitt. We played Pitt on the road and then lost in a game that we really should have won. but it's just kind of like that hangover. You know what I mean? Like you lose to a team that you should have beat, and then you carry that on into the next week and you let it hurt your team. Luckily, we haven't lost since Stanford, which is good. We're 5-1. I think that had we beaten Stanford, we should have. But had we beaten them, we would be, right up there with Pitt. 18, 19, 20. We would definitely be ranked for sure. I still to this day, I get nightmares from Eric Eyemanner catching that pass on the left.
I know.
That was honestly gut wrenching, but terrible coaching, honestly, by Syracuse's defense. I feel like, with a new coach, you're going to have bumps like that, but you got to fix it, man. I mean, he was, the top receiver. Okay. With that being said, that's behind us now. We can talk about the positives. Kyle McCord, in terms of quarterback play, he's looking great. I feel like for the first time since Donovan McNabb, Syracuse has an actual shot at one of their players winning the Heisman Trophy. I think that he's not better than Shedeur Sanders or Ashton Genty right now, obviously, but I feel like he can still get to that level. All he has to play better, of course, minimize the interceptions. But the schedule that we're looking at right now it looks okay. We're playing UConn. We're going to play Cal. We're going to go into that game, which is going to be really fun. Cal is not as strong as we thought they were, to be honest with you. Looking back at Cal, that it's the hangover curse, like we talked about. They lost to Miami in a game that they should have won. They were up by like 25 points, and then they lost the next week, and I believe the week after that. So It's just like you're just stumbling. It's just spiraling downward from one game. They have to correct it, which honestly gives an open opportunity to Syracuse to win that game, and I think that we probably will. To be quite honest with you, number one, because of that, and number two, I feel like Syracuse might go on a run, and going into that Cal game, I feel like we should do okay. But with that being said, we play UConn. I feel like that's by far the easiest schedule, easiest game that we have left. We play Cal, which is winnable. We play Virginia Tech, which is, it's kind of tough. It's on the road. It's always tough to win in that environment. They have one of the most electric college football fan bases. But, those are three games that are within our grasp of winning for sure. Other than that, we play teams like Boston College, who's 4-3 right now in the year. They're a winning football team who have, a really great quarterback behind center. He's a dual threat. He can beat you with his legs and beat you downfield as well. But aside from Boston College, there is let's see here. We have, what was the other one I was thinking of? Of course, Miami, number 6, undefeated Miami. We play them in the last game of the season. That's going to be the toughest one for us. By far. But, who knows? It's senior night. It's in the Dome. Kyle McCord's last game in front of the Syracuse crowd, despite only being here a year. It's going to be a great game, and I feel like Syracuse has a strong chance legitimately to do something great in that game. And honestly, I hope that I hope that Miami remains undefeated up into that game, because that would be absolutely insane to knock off the undefeated Miami Hurricanes in front of a packed Syracuse Dome with that quarterback and the defense that we have now. It'd be absolutely awesome. But, aside from that, I honestly think that if Kyle McCord can somehow manage to, eke 10 wins out of the schedule, I feel like he would be known as a legend for sure in Syracuse's history. Because, look, a 10-win season is not something that, a lot of people think of in terms of like milestones or career achievements, right? But for Syracuse, they've always struggled. The last time we had a 10-win season was in 2018 with Eric Dungy. We were 10-3. We won a bowl game, and believe it or not, we were the 15th best best team in the country, which is unbelievable. Being a top 15 in anything, when you're nationally ranked is awesome. The same couldn't be said about the Giants. I don't think that they've ever been top 15, and honestly, since their Super Bowl win against the Patriots, and I believe it was 2012. Since then, getting inside the top 15 has always been a struggle. You know what I mean? Their quarterback is probably the number one reason why they always struggle, But that's, Daniel Jones is probably one of the worst quarterbacks I think I've ever seen. But that's taken away from the point. I feel like that if Syracuse can eke out 10 wins and, even make it to a bowl game, if we make it to a bowl game at 10 wins, we don't necessarily have to win. I think that would be just a godsend. I would love for the Orange to win, of course, but if we can finish ranked, that would be absolutely outstanding. I think that we have a bright future with our coaching staff, as you mentioned before. He's the #1 recruiter in the country. A lot of people have said that. I think he's maybe like #1, #2 right now. So that's great. He's recruiting a lot of great talent. I think we actually have like 30 players committing for next year's class, which is I think that leads the country or ties the country for most commitments by a college football team, which is really great. They're not high, highly recruited players. There's a couple 4 stars. But the fact that we're getting this influx of a lot of players is really great for us, because in 3-4 years, when they're in upper class, we're going to have a very stacked, team, I feel like, in terms of depth. And our defensive line, I feel like, that is something that we can get excited about for the first time in a long time. Ever since, I would say, Alton Robinson, you don't know who that is, or Chandler Jones, you know him. But yeah, dude, I think that what was his name? I believe it was Murad Watson, I want to say. He's a true freshman. He's already ranked as an All-American so far, up until this point, first team, I believe. He's a defensive lineman. And okay, look, I'm a Syracuse fan through and through, but I'm gonna be honest, I did not really hear of Murad Watson until they said, his name. But hey, man, look, if we have a All-American player on the defensive line, that's great. I think that he has a bright future ahead of him, as well as some of these other players like Marcellus Barnes Jr. I just talked about him a little bit. He's a true freshman cornerback. You don't typically see that at that position. I think that he has a good chance at going to the NFL and being like a Andre Sisco or a Fatu Melifonwu type of player. It's really exciting to see, and I just can't wait, man. I'm so excited for this upcoming game against Pitt, and if we can win this game and be 6-1, we're definitely going to get ranked for sure.
Yeah, man. Look, I'm looking at the schedule, right? And you guys, like you mentioned, have Pitt this Thursday, actually. So that's going to be a big game for you guys on ESPN. You have Virginia Tech at home after, and then you guys are on the road for 2 games with Boston College and Cal. Like you mentioned, we are going to that Cal Syracuse game. Very excited for that one.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, dude, I'm super excited. Now I do got to ask though, receiving wise, because McCord has played phenomenal, right? But let's talk about the weapons case. I mean, yeah. I'm talking about Pena. I thought Gadsden was the only notable name on this roster, but I'm talking about Gadsden, Meeks, Pena, Hatcher as well. You guys have a lot of weapons, dude. And it's like they came out of nowhere. I thought Gadsden was the only guy, but it seems like these other guys have stepped up. Is it safe to say they kind of came out of nowhere, or have they always kind of been this good, just never had the quarterback to kind of show off their skills?
I mean, I think that Syracuse has a very talented offensive, scheme. I feel like obviously with their quarterback and Gadsden. Look, Gadsden, when he was a freshman, he was an All-American. During that season, he had, I think, over almost 1,000 yards. I think he had like 8 or 9 touchdowns in that season. It was amazing. And then he was really just the first player that we've had that has the true chance of going in round 1. But when you have a player like Gadsden, you have to double team him. You have to account for him on the field, or else he's going to beat you deep every single time. And what happens with that is when they double team a certain player, other people get open, and it really stretches the field for you. So the fact that we have Gadsden on our team, even as a decoy, is amazing. Now, that's not to discount anything from the skill of the other players. I think that Trevor Pena has always been someone that has been really shifty, that can very, very quick, and he's a very useful deep threat. We used him a little bit on special teams a couple of years back during, I believe, 2021 when we went on that crazy 6-game win streak, which was unbelievable for the first time since 1987. But of course, we finished 7-6 after a 6-0 start. It was pretty sad. Anyways, aside from that, you have Pena, you have Jackson Meeks, who really, honestly, I feel like he kind of came out of nowhere. I think that he's a good player, but like I had no idea that, I mean, he was going to be this great. I think he's had like 2 or 3 games now. He's had over 100 yards with a touchdown. He seems to be Kyle McCord's favorite receiver up until this point, which is like unbelievable because you have Gadsden, you know what I mean? But a lot of the times, McCord, I think, he said in one game, I think it was against Stanford, every time he was looking at Gadsden, he was covered. So when you have a player like that, it's like it's hard to get the ball to him. And when there's 4 people around them, sometimes you just got to throw the ball in. It's probably going to get intercepted. I mean, I would say that you probably know the most about that. You and Daniel Jones there. It's just something about the 4, like the quadruple man coverage that really just kind of test your patience from both the quarterback and your teammates, playing Madden and NCAA. No, but all joking aside, I feel like Gadsden, Pena, Jackson Meeks, all, very good players. And then, we have a LeQuint Allen. LeQuint Allen is a running back that is looking to follow in the footsteps of Sean Tucker, but he's making his own, future right now. I mean, he's still a junior. He has another year of eligibility left if he doesn't go pro this year. He is a dual threat running back who is, tough to bring down. You want to talk about the game against UNLV. He had a crucial 4th down run where he was hit behind the line of scrimmage, stayed on his feet, and, got the 1st down. That was unbelievable, man. You want to talk about pure electricity. That got the stadium rocking, even though it was in Vegas. And then, of course, you had the last play of the game on the 1-yard line. Kind of reminded me of Bo Jackson and Brian Bosworth, where he just completely laid out the defender and got into to win the game. It was an amazing game to watch, and I think that LeQuint Allen is a great player, and I think that he has a strong chance again to be in the NFL along Sean Tucker. So they're loaded on offense, and I'm just so excited.
Me too, man. Me too. I mean, I think for me, I'm looking at the statistics wise. McCord has been able to spread the ball around. Yes, Trevor Pena has been leading the team in receiving with 42 catches for 458 yards and 5 touchdowns. But everything is spread out. Meeks has 38 catches. Gadsden has 32. Allen, the running back, has 31. Hatcher has 13. Darrell Grill Jr. has 13 as well. It shows that, hey, this offense, they want to spread the ball around. They got plenty of playmakers. And, yeah, that's what I love to see from an offense, and I'm sure all of us do, right? It's nice to have a wide receiver number 1 or like a number 1 target, but when you're having multiple guys chip in on the offense, defenses have a hard time covering you guys. And you guys are 5-1 for a reason in the ACC, may I add. And with this upcoming schedule coming up, hopefully you guys keep it rolling on offense. You guys have put up, at least 42 points into the past 3 games. You put up 24 against NC State, which is always a tough game because they're just a gritty team. And you guys, won that one 24-17 behind McCord's 346 yards. He's thrown for at least 339 in every single game this year. So he can sling it with the best of them. And this just shows that, hey, he's going to be up for the Heisman this year. As much as we don't hear about him as much, it's always about the Giantis and the Hunters and the Gabriels and not much Milrow these days, but those are like the 3 main names of the world. But McCord is up there. He is top 10 to me and to you as well, I'm sure, right, in the Heisman list. So we'll see what happens with the Orange. Defensively, you said Marlo Wax is going to be back hopefully next week, right? So he should be healthy for the Cal game, correct?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Hopefully, he's back and performing at the level he was before he got injured. It's pretty tough to, he's not going to compete at 100%. I feel like coming back from a knee injury like he has is going to be very tough. But I feel like after a few weeks, he should, get back into tip-top shape. It's unfortunate that he's a senior too, because he was always really, really good. I remember being at junior college when I was at Delta. I remember we recruited him, and I remember saying, "Man, he's a great running back." He started out as a running back and then switched to defense. And I always remember I was like, we recruited him, and I was like, geez, like whatever happened to him? Like he's not on the running back roster. Yeah. And then I heard his name during a game, and I was like, oh my God, he's on defense. I mean, he's just that versatile, Yeah. I think that he has a great eye for the ball, and luckily the coaches see that too. He's going to be a great player, dude. If he stays healthy, he's going to definitely be an NFL draft pick for sure.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. All right. Before we go back to the college football landscape, I want to get your thoughts on the season as a whole because we've had a few surprises out so far this season. But I want to shift to the NFL real quick. I got to talk about my Giants, and you're my guy that's kind of keeping me humble when it comes to being a Giants fan. Right, I'm always the positive guy, but you kind of bring things back down to reality for me, and stuff like that. Look, man, you've seen Daniel Jones, right? You've seen him this season, as we all have. This Giants team has been looking very, very bad. Just the offense is just not it. Defensively, they've done an incredible job. I feel like with Dexter Lawrence up there in front with Brian Burns and whatnot. But the offense is holding things back. And you draft Malik Neighbors number 6 overall. That hasn't changed anything. And you mentioned earlier the quarterback is the reason why this team has been struggling. Is it time to put DeVito back in, Case? Because Locke was placed in the game in the fourth quarter. He fumbled twice, recovered one of them, but still, you fumbled twice, and he looked not as great. He went 3 for 8 against the Eagles on Sunday. Jones didn't even throw for 100 yards against the Eagles on Sunday as well. That just adds to the number of bad performances he's had in his career. And it's been 2 straight weeks now where he's looked terrible. The first one being against Cincinnati on prime time. So what do we do here, Case? As the realist yourself, as someone who's been on the screw Daniel Jones bandwagon in a way.
Yeah.
Your thoughts? Because I can't do it. I'm literally going insane because this team continues to put Jones at quarterback, saying, quote, he gives us the best chance to win. In reality, he does not.
Yeah. Well, in a way, he gives you the best chance to win in the future. And by future, I mean losing so much that you have the highest draft pick and draft a quarterback. So in that aspect, yes, he does give you the best possibility win. Not this year, but, next year or the year after that for sure. But in all seriousness, though, I mean, looking at the stats here, he only threw 99 yards. Like you said, he couldn't even throw 100 yards. He didn't throw a touchdown. You can't perform at such a mediocre level in the NFL and still be a starting quarterback. Like we've talked about this for years. What is this his 5th or 6th year? I think in the NFL. I mean, it's absolutely insane, and he's still playing like some like up and coming rookie, and not in a good way either. It's like he's been in the NFL for this long and he's still inexperienced. Like that doesn't make any sense. Like you have Malik Neighbors, right? You get him some of the other weapons in previous years. I mean, Darren Waller, of course, he had some, an injury or so that, kind of kept him away from being 100%. But you get him weapons, and it's like he never really pans out. It doesn't really matter what you do. And then you have, Tommy DeVito. Tommy DeVito is someone that came in late in the season last year. He literally became the most electrifying player. He became the Lynn Sandy of the NFL. People were literally always doing the Italian thing. I mean, it was really fun to see, especially, him being a former Syracuse player himself. I feel like if I were the Giants, put Tommy DeVito in, man. I mean, if you really want to have a chance of reigniting this offense, if you're the coach of the Giants right now and you want to keep your job, you got to bench Daniel Jones and you got to start Tommy DeVito, man. I feel like that's the best way to put it. And until they do that, they're not going to do well. I mean, looking at their schedule here, they lost to the Vikings week 1, 28-6, lost to the Commanders again. They beat the Browns. We beat the Browns. The Raiders beat the Browns. That's not a good team at all. They lost to the Cowboys, but they ended up beating the Seahawks. Okay, that's okay. They're decent on the road. But then you lose to the Bengals and then you lose to the Eagles. So it's like being 2-5, you need to do something. You need to do something fast. If they want any chance of going to the playoffs, you have to act right now, because if they keep playing Daniel Jones, you're going to miss out on the playoffs. You're going to be one of the first teams eliminated, and it's just not going to go well for you. You're playing the Steelers, you're playing the Commanders, and the Panthers before you go into a bye week. And realistically, I mean, I see maybe 1 to 2 wins. The Steelers are a pretty tough team to beat. I don't think you're going to beat them on the road. The Commanders, there you go. There's a divisional game that's always seems to be back and forth with a lot of teams. You never really know. Look at the Raiders and the Chiefs. The Chiefs always seem to beat the Raiders, but every now and then there's a game or two where the Raiders end up beating the Chiefs. It's just because they're a division opponent. I mean, that's the simplest way to put it. They know each other the best, and with the Commanders, I feel like it's a very winnable game, especially at home. And then you play the Panthers, one of the worst teams in the NFL. We actually lost to them, so don't be surprised if you guys lose too. But yeah, dude, I feel like Tommy DeVito gives them the best chance to win. And the worst that can happen is that you lose so many games that you draft Shador Sanders, or something like that. So they got to do something fast, and it's not looking good for them right now.
Mm-hmm. And the key thing is just finding a spark, right? And DeVito kind of gave him that spark last year with the Giants when he did play. And honestly, like I'll admit it, and I'll say it again, I was wrong about DeVito. I didn't want him playing because I believed in Jones last year. He got hurt, and I'm like, okay, well, we're screwed now. Then Tyrod got hurt, so I was like, okay, now we're really screwed. And sure, it took some time for DeVito to kind of get things rolling. We saw against Dallas, he didn't look as great, and against the Raiders, he didn't play as well also. But he played the Commanders, played the Patriots, and he played the Packers. Those were 3 wins right there, especially on prime. He actually won a primetime game compared to Daniel Jones, and he did it really well. He had Saquon Barkley in the backfield, of course, but DeVito made the throws that he was supposed to make, made some key throws as well into tight windows, including that touchdown to Isaiah Hodgins in the corner of the end zone last year against Green Bay. And yes, I think for me this year, I still believed in Jones. I was like, hey, look, he's healthy now. He has weapons. He has an offensive line, which has been top 10 all year long, believe it or not, statistically wise. We're going to be okay. What, 6-7 games in, it's the same thing with Jones. And it's like he's healthy now, and he's had 7 weeks to recover from, or fully kind of get back to where he was before, because he recovered all offseason from that ACL injury last year. He still doesn't look the same. He still looks very mid to just not even close to mid, it seems like. Maybe mid is just being an overstatement because this guy doesn't deserve to be a starting quarterback, especially for the Giants. He's a great person off the field, Case. There's no denying that, of course. No, I'm serious. Like off the field, he's a guy that's had handled the New York media well. Just on the field, he hasn't hasn't performed, and I think that's what matters the most to fans out there. You can be the nicest guy off the field. You can be a guy that cares about the community, handles the media well. You can be an outstanding teammate, but on the field, if you don't perform, they're gonna run you out. And since Jones has played terribly, a lot of people want him out of New York. And you mentioned playing DeVito. One more thing to add on to the fact that he had nothing to lose. You put DeVito in, you're saving yourself money, because if Jones continues to play the rest of the season and gets hurt, the Giants owe him $23 million guaranteed, along with whatever he's owed next year once they cut him. And that's the injury guarantee. And we've seen this injury guarantee before with Russell Wilson last year when Denver kind of sat him for the rest of the year to prevent from paying him a certain amount if he got hurt. Same thing with Jimmy Garoppolo with the Raiders. You guys benched him for the rest of the year just to prevent yourself from paying him a certain amount of money. I think it was like $11-something million you guys would have owed him if he got hurt last year. So the point is, dude, I've probably since Minnesota, I kind of stopped believing. I know I was kind of early to stop believing in him.
The first week of the season is when you stop believing.
Well, look, man, week 1, you're at home and you get embarrassed like that. He threw just costly interceptions and he did play well after that, but he couldn't beat Dallas, right? He couldn't beat Philly. He couldn't beat Cincinnati in a game where they only put up 7 points, and that wasn't even because of him. It was really because of Tyrone Tracy, running the ball in for a touchdown from 1 yard out. That game was winnable, and he just made costly mistakes, dude. And we can't have that, because it's just like, when is it going to end? When is he going to learn from his mistakes? And he's not learning. So, I just wanted to just ask you about that, because I know you're a big DeVito guy, him being from Syracuse and all. So just want to get your thoughts on that, because I don't know how much longer I can take it, dude, with this Jones guy. Seriously.
Dude, you gotta get DeVito in there, man. Get the Italian thing back in New York. And why is it that New York is always having like big name performances like Jeremy Lin and Tommy DeVito? Like, it seems like maybe just because they're so bad that like even a mediocre player looks like Tom Brady to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. I don't think, well, okay, Tommy DeVito is quote unquote mediocre right now, but I think that he'll get better if the Giants continue to play him.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it's not looking good.
Yeah. So we'll see how for the Giants. They play the Pittsburgh Steelers on Monday night, and they head off to London after that to take on the Carolina Panthers. So I know it's the Steelers and then the Commanders and then the Panthers after that. So we'll see what happens there. But not much hope for the Giants so far right now, despite pretty solid defense. Just the quarterback that's kind of holding this team back. So just tough times in New York. Any thoughts on the NFL season as a whole so far, Casey? Any surprises by any chance? The Chiefs are still undefeated. For some way, somehow, they don't look as good as they used to be. Any quick thoughts on the NFL season before I want to get your final thoughts on the college football season, and we'll call this one.
Yeah, I mean, well, number one, the Vikings, being 5-1 or 5-0 through the first 5 games is absolutely unbelievable. Sam Darnold really just revitalized his career. I thought it was over and in the tank, but JJ McCarthy got injured, and next man up, Sam Darnold came in there and then absolutely just played phenomenally. Against the 49ers for sure. That was when people really started to pay attention to him and listen to the Vikings. They lost to the Lions in this past week, but that's a team that, as of late, ironically, the Lions have been a decent team in the past few years. They were like the Raiders, man. I'm really rooting for them. They were always just at the bottom of the barrel, getting the last draft pick, 0-16 season, quarterback back and running out of the back of the end zone, getting laughed at, all the memes, everything. It's been happening for years. And finally, you have a organization that has a coach that everyone loves. You have promising young players. Fati Melifonwu, Syracuse player, he's on defense. You know what I mean? You have a quarterback in Jared Goff that has played in the Super Bowl. They didn't win, but has taken them there. He has experience. The Lions went to the conference championship, I believe, right, last year against the 49ers. Ended up losing, unfortunately. But that's insane, dude. Imagine if the Lions were playing the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. I think that would have been actually the very first time in NFL history that NFL season started and ended with the same two teams.
I know, yeah.
Like we talked about it before, the very first game of the season last year was Lions and Chiefs, in which the Lions had won. The Super Bowl rematch, that would have been crazy, man. But I feel like the Chiefs probably still would have won, unfortunately. Whenever you have instances where teams will play each other twice, you don't typically see a team lose twice in a row.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of a bummer. As a Raider fan, you know what I mean? That would just, I'm just so sick and tired of the Chiefs winning, dude. I don't care if it's the Lions. I don't care if it's even the Niners at this point. I hate to say it, but just someone beat Patrick Mahomes, dude. I do not want him to be the next Brady. It's getting ridiculous. It's absolutely crazy how much people really, really love him. Look, dude, he's nice, or he's a good person off the field, but on Sundays, everyone hates him. And they hate him because he's a winning quarterback on a winning team with a Hall of Fame head coach. It's got to stop at some point, and I feel like I'm really rooting for one of these teams to beat him. But I mean, other than that, aside from the Lions being great and the Vikings having a decent year so far with Sam Darnold, the only other team that stands out to me is, of course, got to give this man a shout out, Baker Mayfield and the Bucs. I've always been a Baker Mayfield supporter, even when he was with the Rams. Him beating us, I believe, on Sunday Night Football was a great game. Dude, I was happy, man. I was really happy for him, even when he beat us, because we were a terrible team. We still are. But when he was able to win that game against us on the game-winning drive, that really just saved his career personally. But since then he's been great. I believe the Bucs are, I think, 4-3 now. They just lost in a shootout to Baltimore yesterday. Mm-hmm. But aside from that, dude, I mean, they're winning so far. They have a winning season. If Baker Mayfield can continue to play well and put up high numbers, especially on fantasy, like he's literally won me some fantasy games single-handedly, which is insane. But yeah, I'm super excited for him. The playoffs this year are going to be absolutely great. I think that there's a lot of great teams out there, a lot of underdog teams that I feel like can make a strong push. And I think that the Bucs, the Lions, and the Vikings are all three teams that a lot of people may be counting out, but I think that they can be really good.
Okay. I'd love to hear it. Yeah, Baker Mayfield has played well this season. I'm happy that he has a home in Tampa. A lot of teams kind of just passed on him, or just the system didn't work with him in Carolina and LA, and of course with the Browns, who are kind of getting their karma, right, for letting the only guy who led them to the playoffs as a recent memory let him go a few years ago. So Cleveland's kind of getting their karma right now. Not to say that Watson deserved to get hurt, but hey, they could have had Baker Mayfield back there under center, but not they wanted to go for the big name and Deshaun Watson, and that's why they're suffering right now in Cleveland. So yeah, we will see. The Bucks likely will win the South. In terms of the Vikings and Lions, one of them's gonna win the division. The other one might be in a wild card spot. So we'll see what happens there. Before you go, Case, I gotta know for college football and for the NFL as well, who do you have making the championship / the Super Bowl? And for college, who is your Heisman winner? And for NFL, your MVP pick. And if you want, you can explain why as well.
Yeah. Well, I think that in college, I'm gonna say I'm a little biased. I'm gonna say Ohio State. We have one of our great friends, Mateo, huge Buckeye fan. I feel like this is the year that they upset a lot of people and make the championship game and win. Actually, I think that the team that they beat is either going to be Texas or here's another underdog team, Miami. Ooh. Miami is another team that a lot of people are kind of under evaluating, and I think that Cam Ward has a legitimate shot at winning the Heisman or winning a national championship. But I think that Ohio State is going to get it done this year. I'm super excited for them. But if not them, it's well in terms of let's do the Heisman Trophy first. The Heisman Trophy is either going to go to Shedeur Sanders, who I swear so college football and NFL both are very similar in that they love to how do we say this politely? Jump on the bandwagon on certain players, right? And I think that Shedeur Sanders is essentially the Patrick Mahomes of the college football world because everyone's talking about them because of his father. Not saying he's not good, but because his dad is Deion Sanders, that team is going to get a lot more coverage. And I think that, there's a lot of bias in the Heisman Trophy voting, and I think that he has a strong chance to do that.
Yeah.
So it's either going to be him or Cam Ward. And then for the championship, I see Ohio State, Miami, or Ohio State and Texas. So it's going to be good. I'm excited.
All right. We have a comment here from Miguel. I can't post it on here for some reason. It won't show to the video, but Miguel says, "Hi, what is up to you?" So any response? Nice. Any response to that to your boy?
No, absolutely none.
Okay, sounds good. And then for the NFL case, I know it's kind of early. We're week 7 or approaching week 8, I should say. Who do you have making the Super Bowl right now?
Well, it's definitely not the trash Niners. I'll say that for sure. I'm not saying that because Miguel's in here. But yeah, dude, I think that the Niners are a team that a lot of people, really like to watch early on in the season, but they've had some games where they struggled, and I don't think that they make it. I think that right now, the 2 Super Bowl teams are going to be you know what? Yeah, I'm going to say the Lions. We talked about them earlier. And I'm going to say unfortunately, as much as I hate to say it, the Chiefs. I think it's going to be
damn it
a rematch of last year's season opener, and it's going to be great. Who do you think is going to go?
Shoot, man. I mean, Buffalo looks good. I mean, Josh Allen has played, incredible. Has to be, to me, either him or Lamar, my MVP favorite. But I do have Buffalo in the AFC. In the NFC, I love Detroit. They're looking good. So I'm going to go Bills, Lions as of right now. So we'll see what happens there. And then your MVP pick is?
I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson, actually. Okay. I think that he wins it again. So, yeah.
Okay, love it. Comments here from our viewers. Miguel says Casey is a slime, straight bandwagon, and then he says, who put him on the mic? So, some question.
That's crazy. The fact that he would call me a bandwagon despite following USC and the Yankees is absolutely insane. So that's actually really crazy that he would say that. Because the Raiders and the Syracuse Orange are definitely bandwagon football teams. Okay, fine. Just because I like the Cubs and the Astros and the Eagles, and I said this in 2016 or 17 when they won, doesn't mean I'm a bandwagon. Despite all of them winning a World Series or Super Bowl, doesn't make me a bandwagon. I played on the little league teams for them, so that counts. Migo can't say that. He did not play for the New York Yankees, and he did not play for USC. It's yeah. So I think I beat Migo in that category, and I have the right to be a supporter of those teams. Migo, on the other hand, no.
He says, "quote Okay, Mr. Eagles, that's 3 teams. I have 2. He's a bandwagon. It does not count." So, well,
Actually,
he doesn't know if I did or did not play with them. He says so.
Well, does he have the mic? No. So I win. This is yeah. That's oh my god.
We need him on here one of these days. But hey,
yeah.
look, Case, it was a blast having you on. Honestly, we miss you here. I know this podcast has changed a lot since the last time you've been here, but if we can make this a weekly or bi-weekly thing, have you on, talk some ball, because Syracuse is playing really well right now. So just getting your weekly thoughts on this team and just talking ball with you, it would be a blast. So we'll talk about it off here for sure. But first off, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us on the show on the 3rd and 10 podcast. Where can we find you? We have your TikTok listed below here in the background, but where else can we find you, buddy, in terms of social media and possibly YouTube as well?
Yeah, really just on TikTok, @CaseyWhite_. And then I have an Instagram. I think it's just CaseyWhite422. If you want to go follow that, it'd be greatly appreciated. But yeah, dude, I look forward to posting more sports content. I'm just finishing up my school now, so I think I'll have more time on my hands. I'm excited, man. I love football. Love talking with you as always. It's going to be a great, next few months here for football and making content for sure.
Definitely, man. So excited to see what TikToks you have coming out whenever you do work and release them. And then we will hopefully have you back on the show one of these days. So thank you, Casey, so much for your time. Thank you to our viewers today. You can catch every episode of the 3rd and 10 podcast on Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. You can find us on the YouTube channel at 3rd and 10 pod. And of course, on our all social medias, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all that fun stuff at 3rd and 10 pod. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter as well at Nathan_Nguyen24. So for Case, I'm Nate. The Case and Nate show is sort of back as part of the 3rd and 10 podcast. We'll see what happens in the future. But we thank you guys so much for your time. And we will see you guys on Thursday. Yeah.
See you. Thank you.
Bye, guys.